Hey everybody, this is James from Man Tripping, and we're here on a special St. Patrick's Day Eve show. We have some Guinness, and we had some of this amazing bread that Eoghain Clavin, the Guinness Ambassador, is going to be talking about in a little bit. But it was so damn good that we all ate it. So unfortunately, I can't show it on camera, but that's just kind of how things roll. So we're really excited tonight. We have a bunch of great guys. We've got Sujit from Guys Gab. We've got Kevin from Pub Club, Tom Fisher from bourbonblog.com, and the man of the hour, Eoghain Clavin, who I think I finally got your name pronounced correctly.
James, we've only known each other for half a decade at this stage, but yes, thank you. We finally nailed it.
So, with that being said, let's. I'm going to go and pop mine. Uh-oh. Maybe I might have shaken that up a little bit. There we go. The other guys have already gone ahead of me and done theirs. Just so I know, what is the approved way of pouring this? Aside from the way Tom just did, which is putting the can all the way in the glass.
Right. All right. So we're going to get our can of Guinness Draft Stout. We're going to crack it open, and so you hear that crack when you open it, but there's also an additional surge, and you see it bubbling up a little bit in the top here. We're going to leave it just wait for a couple of seconds, as there's a widget inside in the can, and so that widget's a little plastic ball, and what it's doing is releasing nitrogen and high pressure beer into the can. So now we're going to pour our can. I like to do the classic pour as a 45-degree angle pour. So we're going to pour all the way up. We're going to fill this can up. So if you were at the pub, they would be doing a two-part pour, but at home, the can is designed to do a single pour on your Guinness Draft Stout. So as it's pouring, we can see that classic, little spill there, classic surge and settle coming down. And so that's all the nitrogen bubbles. They're sheeting down the inside of the glass, but there's actually a current inside the glass. So they're going along just the glass here and then back up through the center. So it looks like the bubbles are falling out of the head, but they're actually creating this beautiful, thick, creamy, velvety head on top of our pint. So this looks pretty good here now, lads.
Now,
cheers.
Cheers.
Yes. Now, one thing I've noticed is the fact that you poured it. I'm not surprised that you poured it perfectly, because you not only are the man telling us how to do it. So if the teacher's doing it wrong, there's some real problems there. But mine doesn't look as full as yours, but I know it came out of the same can.
So is it the can or is it the glass?
Well, it's your glasses that you sent me, so I think they're the same.
So I think our good people sent you some 20-ounce Guinness glasses, which would be like the glasses that you get at the pub.
Okay.
I got some lovely 16-ounce Guinness glasses here. So they are to fit the size of the can. So we can see there.
That's probably it.
There's two different sizes of glass here, my friend. I, being the brand ambassador, made sure that I had the 16-ounce glassware. But we can chat with our folks. And maybe we'll get you some 16 ounces sent.
Well, I think that's an interesting trick, though. That way, you're like, well, my glass isn't completely full. I need another one.
I know. I always like a full pint, and so it's the best way to look at it.
Or you can keep on just emptying more in your glass. Like if you have a second one, you can keep on refilling it. As long as the glass is half full.
Well, yes, the glass is half full. We're always like just tipping away.
That's right.
Popping up. Yeah.
The glass is
popping up within reason and responsibility.
It's 80/90ths full.
Yes.
It's good.
So
it's good.
Anyhow, so I guess we can all do a toast. But is there anything in particular that you wanted to toast to besides the fact that we're all Irish tomorrow?
Well, the fact that we're all Irish tomorrow, but so Guinness this year is doing. We do a little charitable drive every year around this season, and this year what we're doing is called #A-Toast-To, and so we're toasting to all of our friends, all of our family, all of the wonderful people that worked on the front lines throughout this horrible past year that we've had, and as we say, those who look out for us and those who look after us. And we want to share that toast. And we want people to, if they do hashtag a toast too with their selfie with whatever they're drinking, please be over 21 to share these. We are going to share $1. We're going to donate $1 to a group of charities here in the United States. Every selfie posted. We want to give over $600,000 this year. So all of these posts are going to be there. They'll be eligible right up until Friday of this week. So get out there, get a drink, have a toast, and cheer to your friends. So I will say, slot to my friends.
Cheers
and,
to that.
and speaking of friends, we've got Mr. Bear Gaming that says hi. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Bear Gaming, and hopefully you're raising a glass of Guinness with us as well.
Yeah.
Good man, Mr. Bear.
So, I'm sorry, Kevin, you're on mute. Did you have?
I was going to do a toast to all the great bartenders, all the waitresses, all the bar owners, managers who have gone through a lot, particularly here in California, where they're starting up and then down. So I want to do a toast to all those great servers.
Indeed.
In the pubs. Cheers.
Yes, cheers.
Cheers.
And I'll.
So on St. Patrick's Day, how many pints of Guinness are said to be drank worldwide? What's the you have an average?
So we have a figure of about 13 million pints are drank worldwide on St. Patrick's Day.
I'll get it.
So here in the United States, it's thought that St. Patrick's Day is worth about $6 billion to the economy. And that's from not only drinking pints of Guinness, but it's from people going out, visiting pubs, going to the store, buying green bow ties, buying their beads, everything. The whole mechanism that's involved with St. Patrick's Day is worth about $6 billion.
Yeah. Not only the green bow tie, but just to show that I am.
Oh, there you go.
Too. I have the Irish glasses, so everything I see is green when I look at these.
So Tom, you wouldn't even need a passport to get into Ireland with those.
They would just let me in right now, right?
We'll just wave you through. It's like,
I like it. They wouldn't check me at all. I like it.
And I tried to go a little bit of green. I actually had a green polo on before, and then I realized that the green polo on a green screen just makes me look like a talking head. So I figured, that you'd excuse me for this. At least I got the shamrock.
Well, I had this pub club shirt made with green, just specifically for St. Patrick's Day. So,
well, James, that's been a huge thing we've been doing this year. Obviously, with everything shut down, and we're not being like I generally travel extensively throughout the year. So I'm usually like 175 to 100 flights a year, traveling around the country talking about Guinness. So we did a huge pivot to virtual this year. Like I built this bar in my garage so we could do events like this. But green screens have been a huge part of what we do as well. And, like we built virtual keg rooms to teach people about how draft systems work. And we have like a virtual pub that we were able to talk through pouring perfect pints of Guinness. Yeah. But it's eliminated wearing any of the green Guinness stuff that I have because it's just this floating head.
It's funny because actually the flip side of my green screen is a blue screen. And so I said, "Oh, I'll be all fancy. I'll be able to switch that around." And apparently, it's blue, but it just didn't grab the chroma lock. So
the chroma key doesn't pick it up. Yeah.
But, if that's the worst of our problem, we'll just drink more Guinness, and then it won't matter.
Yeah, we'll be fine with that. Obviously, within moderation, of course.
Owen, have you been to Savannah, Georgia, for St. Patrick's Day? That is where I began my journalism career, and I had no idea until a couple of months before everyone in the newspaper was talking about Savannah on St. Patrick's Day, and oh my God, is this something everyone should go to at some point in their life?
Kevin, would you believe I was just talking to some people about that about 45 minutes?
I must have felt it in the air.
They were saying to me that they're like their bucket lists to go to either the Chicago parade or the Boston parade. And we've been talking quite a bit about the river dyeing that we've done at the weekend in Chicago. So Guinness were sponsoring the local plumbers union, who take care of the river dyeing. We had our own Guinness speedboat tipping up and down the river, and like I know my fellow ambassador up there, Jimmy Callahan, he was on a boat with the mayor, and they were going down the river. So yeah, people were talking about that, and I was like, "You guys haven't heard about Savannah, have you?" And I think Savannah, is it New York, Chicago, and then Savannah? Those are the three biggest parades for.
Those are the three biggest. Savannah's number 3. They get anywhere between 300,000 and 400,000 people in there usually. They dye. This is why I learned this, by the way. They dye the river green at all the fountains. Savannah's very pretty with all these fountains. The city does it because otherwise they're afraid of people putting harmful chemicals in. And then someone actually asked me on Twitter this week about that. So the cities actually dye the rivers green because they can control what goes in there. But Savannah is unbelievable. They have a parade. I actually dated Miss St. Patrick's Day actually one time, Rose Bass, wherever she is. But Savannah's got the downtown parade, and then everyone marches over to River Street, which is just insane. The place used to be Spanky's, which is where everyone would congregate. You know, when I lived there, and they would hang out the balcony and toss T-shirts at people, and guys would put girls up on their shoulders and pass them to the front so they could get the T-shirt. I mean, it's a crazy scene, and I had no idea. And the newspaper gave us the option of having the night off before or the day of off, and I took the night off before my first year, and then after that realized I wanted to have St. Patrick's Day off, and it's insane. Everyone should go there, Savannah St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, it's definitely it's definitely on my list of places to go, and I know
Green Fountain.
They certainly do it right there.
James, if you go to my homepage, I just put up a photo of Savannah River Street St. Patrick's Day because I've got an article on the top St. Patrick's Day places in the country, and there's a great photo of people on River Street on St. Patrick's Day. I love St. Patrick's Day as a result of that. So I'll drink to Savannah St. Patrick's Day.
Well, that's a good thing to drink.
Absolutely. Yes.
You know, Tom and I had a ball at St. Patrick's Day. Was it 3 years ago?
Yeah, we were looking at those pictures the other night. I think it was 3 years ago there in Nevada. We went all over Nevada, and we literally had a ball. I know what you're getting.
So Tom and I were judges, yeah. And right now, Owen, you have a bewildered look in your face, going, "Oh my God, where is this conversation going?"
It's going where you think it might,
as you should, because it's the Virginia City Testicle Festival,
yeah,
and they hold it during St. Patrick's Day, and everyone's getting drunk and eating prairie oysters.
Yeah,
okay.
And it was exactly what you'd expect.
They did them in different ways, right? They made them into tacos, into steaks, into meatballs. And we were James and I and a couple other gents were the judges of this.
I got a press release on that and ran it a few weeks ago. And I don't know if I could I don't know if I could participate in the food aspect of it.
You know, I invited Sujit, and Sujit just was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not eating balls."
No.
I stand by that decision.
I'll be a vegetarian that day.
I'm fine with it. I'm willing to try anything. And you know, it's like that's an artisanal thing as well. Like some people are doing things that they love and they're, you know, creating something. And if somebody puts their heart and soul into something, I'm certainly going to try it.
Right.
The only thing bad about that festival is the fact that I think Miller Lite must have sponsored it, or Budweiser, or somebody, but I didn't see Guinness there. But I guess when you're drinking a lot of beer and eating a lot of balls, it almost doesn't matter what you're drinking as long as you're drinking a lot of it.
I'm pretty sure we tracked down some Guinness later that day, but. We needed something to wash all that down with. That's for sure.
I know we had Guinness in the hotel afterwards, right before right after the ghost encounter that I had. And did you have a ghost in your room too, or is it?
Yeah, if you eat enough balls, there's some sort of ghost is going to visit you.
I would think so.
Haven't seen a ghost like that for a while. You know, it's.
I think we should just
You know, you think about
put
the
Owen's
slime and
face on here because like
Put me up full here.
you're nodding and going like, oh my goodness, how do I end this this conversation?
Well, James, my ending was going to be if you think about the slime and Ghostbusters, you don't want to know what's going to happen with this ghost.
Well, they used to have a testicle festival in Clinton, Montana, which I thought was funny because, you know, kind of Bill Clinton. They called it the Testy Fest.
Right.
And it ended, I don't know, a couple years ago for some reason. But that was like a giant party. And I would like to have gone to it one time. But like, again, I would think I'd find something else to eat.
Well, back to St. Patrick's Day, though, and the,
there we go.
The true spirit of you know, I don't even know what St. Patrick's Day is like in Ireland. I feel like no matter what it is, Americans always take something and be like, oh, it's an excuse to get shit-faced. Let's make it Cinco de Mayo. Let's make it, you know, St. Patrick's Day. But at the end of the day, these holidays actually have some kind of a genesis somewhere. So what is St. Patrick's Day like in Ireland?
Well, I mean, first of all, as we say in Ireland, it's a holy day of obligation. So it's the feast of St. Patrick. So it's you know, if that's what you do, you go to mass. So that there's mass on St. Patrick's Day, people go to mass. But the biggest thing about St. Patrick's Day, and the way I equate it to what goes on here in the United States, is imagine if you had the Wednesday and Thursday of Thanksgiving and you rolled it into one day.
Wow.
Right? So you have that communal aspect where people are coming home, you're seeing friends you haven't seen for a long time. And it's a big community, it's a big family day. But what you also have is there's a lot of great sport on the TV. So people go to big sporting events. There's a lot of finals that are played on St. Patrick's Day in Ireland. If it falls on a Saturday, generally Ireland are playing a very important rugby match that day because it will be the final game of the Six Nations rugby tournament. So, you know, the championship could be on the line. And then there's also, you know, you'll go and do community things. You'll go to the parade. You'll go, St. Patrick visited a lot of spots around Ireland. There could be some spot that's significant to St. Patrick, like in my hometown, I'm from Tullamore. So there's a spot called Croghan Hill, which is about 15 miles outside of Tullamore. There's a St. Patrick's Well on the side of Croghan Hill. So people in our locality, they'll climb Croghan Hill and then they'll go to the well and they'll check the box and then they'll go have lunch, watch a couple of games on the TV and head out to the pub. But a lot, like up to 4 p.m., super family oriented. And then post 4 p.m., it's adult only. You're enjoying yourself. You're heading out, you're enjoying yourself. And then, like, obviously, because, you know, traditional Irish music, we just call it music in Ireland. You know, there's a lot of great music in pubs, and just again, sort of the post game celebrations as well, and a lot of that. So it's a huge day in Ireland, but family first and family and community first, and then it's sort of roll into the pubs and enjoy yourself.
Right.
So is that something that anybody can come and enjoy? That, you know, if we all got on a plane next year and showed up in Dublin, we'd be able to just show up at the bars, or is it going to look, are the tourists kind of you know, shunned a little bit?
All are welcome. All are welcome. We the greeting in Ireland is Céad Míle Fáilte. It's 100,000 welcomes. So we don't turn anyone away. And a big thing as well is that, you know, the Irish people, we spent centuries having to travel for one reason or another around the globe and move to different countries. And again, like, I live here in the United States. I'm one of the Irish diaspora, as they call them, the people that have left Ireland, moved to different countries. And so we understand that we can go to other countries and we more than welcome everybody back to our own country. So it's Céad Míle Fáilte. Everyone is welcome.
Yeah. That's what it's all about. Cheers, gents. Yeah.
So Tom,
you know, yes, please go ahead.
I have a good one for you, Tom.
Please.
Tom Fisher, Bourbon Blog. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. So, in my previous life, before my Guinness Ambassador life, I used to do a lot of whiskey events.
Yeah.
I used to do a number of bourbon events as well. And I would talk people through all the nuances of bourbon and all the different areas. And I've been very fortunate to be able to go and visit Kentucky, and I've gone on the Bourbon Trail and went to the Derby and all that.
Right.
But I was doing a whiskey dinner one night, and I was having some fun with the idea of Kentucky Colonels.
Yeah.
I think I was talking about Blanton's, Colonel Blanton's.
Right.
Joking away about that, and one of the people at the event, his wife was sitting beside him, sort of elbowing him. She's like, "Go on, show him." And he pulled out his Kentucky Colonel card, and I started to just shrink after poking fun at Kentucky Colonels for so long. I asked him how you became a Kentucky Colonel. He said, "Standing Colonel has to write you a letter of recommendation."
Right.
And where I was working at the time, I was working in a bar in Washington, D.C. And we did a lot of charitable events, and we did a lot of bourbon events. We talked a lot about bourbon. So he said, "You know what? I'll write you a letter for your services that you've done to Kentucky and your local community."
Yes.
And a couple of weeks later, I got my commission as a Kentucky Colonel. And now I carry my own Kentucky Colonel card.
Wow.
That is truly impressive. And wow. So coincidentally, I'm actually a Kentucky Colonel as well. I was
could tell I was in good company.
Yes, of course. I was very fortunate several years ago with my work in the bourbon world to become a colonel too, and they don't give them to just anybody too. So I mean, I think they're tougher and tougher to get even now. So I think that does anyone ever call you colonel? I mean, do you ever? Because I'm thinking at some point, maybe as 2021, because I'm out there more, I should just be going by Colonel Tom or Colonel Fisher. Do you have anybody call you colonel?
Sometimes my wife calls it to me.
When does she usually call you that?
It depends on how the day is going.
Right.
But it was a lot of people used to have fun at the bar. They would call me the Colonel.
Right.
And a couple of people that I've told this story to in Guinness now, they call me the Colonel.
I like it.
But
is there an equivalent in Ireland? I mean, I know like in Britain, in the UK, there's like being knighted. Is there something that's kind of like that that's only specific to Ireland?
Yeah, it's being a Guinness Brewing Ambassador.
I thought it might be.
Yeah, well, that's a good title.
You got all these titles. You don't need any more.
I'm abundant. The titles follow me around. Yes,
I would take Guinness Ambassador over a Colonel. And Tom, you remember we had actually Kentucky Colonel on our Kentucky Derby show that we did.
Yes, we did. That was the Colonels have made their way on here a little bit, haven't they?
Yes, I didn't know you were one too. So we had two Kentucky Colonels on our Kentucky Derby show.
Yeah, pretty amazing. And you know what? I was very fortunate to go to the brewery, the St. James Gate Brewery there in Ireland. I was in Dublin several years ago with my family, with my wife. My mom had been tracing back our lineage, our genealogy from Ireland. So we did a little trip. And while I was there, the great people at Guinness set us up with a tour, and it was incredible to be there overlooking Dublin. Amazing experience. And one of the things I learned was, of course, I knew there were a variety of beers that were, Guinness styles, but there are a number of different beers that you all make. And there's more and more, aren't there, besides just the stout?
Correct. James, would you throw me on full screen for a second?
There you go.
So everything that we have here, right? All of these beers are brewed by the Guinness Brewery. So like Smithwick's, Harp, our Guinness Extra Stout, our Foreign Extra Stout, Draft, our Blonde, our export sales, our barrel aged stouts, 200th anniversary, and then all of these guys over here are from our new Open Gate Brewery in Baltimore, in Maryland. So we are a brewer of beer. We don't just brew one thing, and we've been brewing beers for what, 262 years. So we know what we're doing. We know how to brew beer. We brew beer at the highest level, and like at the Guinness Brewery in Dublin, we brew, over 24 different styles of beer. And that's one of the biggest eye-opening things that people see. It's like, oh, you're not just this sort of monolith, that you do brew a lot of different beers. And like the best example of that is actually, nobody would turn my back on you, but so this beer is Guinness Foreign Extra Stout. So Foreign Extra Stout is our export strength stout. It's 7.5% as opposed to 4.2% for our Guinness draft in a can, and the Guinness that you get at the pub. But this beer in this beautiful bottle is our #1 selling beer worldwide. So everybody obviously thinks it's what you get at the pub, what you get on tap is going to be #1. Incorrect. Guinness Foreign Extra Stout is our biggest selling beer. Guinness Extra Stout, history lesson. We've been brewing Guinness Extra Stout since the 1820s. Okay, Arthur Guinness' son, Arthur Guinness II, he perfected the recipe for Guinness Extra Stout. We've been brewing it ever since. Guinness Extra Stout made us the biggest brewery in Ireland. Guinness Foreign Extra Stout made us the biggest brewery in the world. Like, we didn't start selling or brewing or selling Guinness Draft Stout, the nitrogenated creamy stout that we're all drinking now, till 1959.
Wow.
This beer was released as a celebration beer for the bicentenary of the Guinness Brewery. But it was these two bad boys that put us on the map.
Now, what is the difference between the foreign export and the regular extra stout?
So think of it as a pale ale and an IPA.
Oh, so totally different then.
Well, it's a genesis. It's an evolution. One goes to the other. So our extra stout would have been for domestic use. It's a lower ABV, lower hops, lower malt. If you want to send a beer around the world, just like IPAs from pale ales, they needed more hops, more malt. They needed more alcohol in it. They needed more natural preservatives in it. And so just like the progression from pale ale to IPA of upping the ABV, upping the alcohol, and upping the hop bill in it, that's what happened with Guinness Foreign Extra Stout. So they made a beer, we say roasty and malty for voyages long and salty. So they made a beer that would travel around the globe. So this is the beer that we would have sold to the Americas, the Caribbean, Southeast Asia, Africa. I mean, we have 3 breweries in Africa that basically just brew Foreign Extra Stout. It's the #1 beer in Africa. All of our convict relatives down in Australia, they all. So those are the beers like pre-1959. The story of Guinness is just those 2 beers, and then post-1959, like it took over 2 decades for Guinness Draft Stout to overtake Guinness Extra Stout in sales, and it still hasn't overtaken Foreign Extra Stout.
Well, I'm shocked that around the world you would have a higher alcohol content than your fellow Irishmen, because I would think the Irish would want the strongest beer.
So that's also like a funny one, that Irish beers generally are lower ABV. So Irish and British beers, you don't find a lot of them that are over 6%, unless it's like the specialties, like the barley wines and things like that. But a big part of that came from, say, like World War I, World War II, the rationing of barley, where barley was being sent more to foodstuffs than brewing, and as a result, they had to use less barley in the mash bill when they were brewing. And so if you use less barley, it's going to create less sugar. Less sugar means less sugars for the yeast to eat, and it means less alcohol in the final fermentation process. So it's the ABVs of a lot of Irish and UK beers dropped during those world wars and never rose up again. Whereas the export stouts, you had to have an higher ABV in order to export it and for it to last those long voyages.
And Guinness is only 90 calories, right? It's one of the lower calorie beers. Is that correct?
That can't be right.
Well, it's 126 calories per 12-ounce bottle.
Oh, okay.
So
it's less than a regular beer then, right? Which is 140, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, we're actually only a couple of calories higher than being able to legally call ourselves a light beer. And the reason for that is Guinness Brew's dry Irish stout. So if, James, you're a huge fan of wine, somebody went to a bar and ordered a dry white wine, they would want a wine with less sugar in it, correct?
Right.
You wouldn't want a sweet white wine. So dry means less sugar. So we use less sugar. We have less sugar in our beer when we ferment it. And that means that there's lower calories. It also means there's lower density. So it means our liquid, the beer itself, is lighter than other beers. And that's why we see half and halves, where Guinness floats on top of the other beer. Because the density of the liquid is less than below it.
I have one more Guinness.
And according to the ingredients, it's also a fat-free food.
Oh.
There's 0.0 grams of fat. So for anybody on a diet, you know, we've heard it here first. It's relatively low in calories, 0 fat, and it tastes great.
I mean, to be clear, it's not as good as like light cardio, but it's not as bad as a lot of things. So.
Right. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, I was looking at that last night myself because I think some people don't realize. I mean, even though there's a lot of rich complexity to it, it's a lot more approachable than some people that maybe have never had Guinness or don't understand what it is, right?
Well, we were saying your eyes are telling you lies. So when you look at a pint of Guinness, you think, oh, this is going to be super heavy. It's going to be just, and like, there's all the myths. It's like, this is a loaf of bread in a glass, or it's a meal. When in fact, as we said, it's a dry Irish stout. It's nitrogenated. It's got a very light mouthfeel. But because we use our roasted barley in it, you do have, it's flavor forward. And it's just like that dark color that sometimes throws people off a little bit.
On a blind tasting, if we didn't actually see the color, if we didn't see the glass, we might, you know, if we haven't had a Guinness for a while, we might be surprised that it was a Guinness we were drinking. Yeah.
Guinness have done those blind tastings over the years, and again, it's, you know, your sight is probably your most prominent sense,
right.
And so that's what people fall back on. But yeah, it's one of the lightest beers. We joke it's the greatest trick the Irish ever pulled. The Irish are these prolific drinkers when we basically drink a dark colored light beer.
Does Guinness taste different in Ireland, which I've heard, but I've not been there to confirm, than it does in the United States or even Canada or elsewhere? And are the breweries, do you import it all, or do you have local breweries? I have, from my Canadian friends, tell me that the closest to the Guinness Ireland beer is what's made in Canada. So maybe you can clear that up for me.
So Guinness Draft Stout, what you're drinking in the cans there, for all of the Americas, so North America, Caribbean, all throughout Europe, it is all brewed at St. James's Gate in Dublin. It's all the same. But the big misnomer is that people say, oh, you drink Guinness. Yeah, okay. Well, this is Guinness. This is Guinness. And this is Guinness. So these are These are all three different beers, but depending on where you are in the world, people call them Guinness. And so the big problem with that is they're three different beers. So people go, oh, well, it tastes different where I'm from. He's like, well, it's not the same beer. So the closer you get to the equator, you're more than like, if you go to a bar and you ask for a Guinness, they're probably going to hand you a bottle of Guinness Foreign Extra Stout. If you're in North America, if you're in Europe and you ask for a Guinness, you're going to get a pint of Guinness Draft Stout. But it doesn't get any easier. If you go to a pub in Ireland and you ask for a Guinness, the bartender will say, do you want a pint or a bottle? And if you say a pint, he'll pour you a beautiful 2-part pour Guinness Draft Stout. If you ask for a bottle, he's going to reach to the shelf behind him and he's going to pull off like a room temperature or cellar temperature Guinness Extra Stout. So this might take care of that myth question that you might have written in front of you somewhere. Do they drink Guinness warm in Ireland? Nobody drinks warm beer anywhere, but unless you very much have to. The ice is gone from the cooler.
Yeah.
But so Guinness Draft Stout will always be refrigerated. Always, always, always. But Guinness Extra Stout, people enjoy the flavor of it. It opens it up a bit more if you drink it at cellar temperature, which is 55 degrees Fahrenheit or a little bit higher. So that's a big thing. Guinness should taste the same everywhere you go if the lines are clean, the pressure's right, it's poured right, the glassware is right. But circling back to the original question, does it taste better in Ireland? A friend of mine says, well, margaritas taste better in Mexico.
Okay, all right, I'll go with that.
So, you're wrapped up in the atmosphere of it. You're having a whale of a time. Like, you will be guaranteed a perfect pour, and you will be guaranteed super fresh Guinness. Like a keg of Guinness only really starts going bad, like every other keg, once you tap it. And when you go to a great pub, they're going to be going through a keg of Guinness every day. So that pint that you're getting, that keg will have been tapped that day. And there are so many pubs around the United States that do the very same thing. They have a fresh keg every day because they're rolling through and they're rolling through. And you're going to get a great pint of Guinness when you go to one of those places that keeps rolling through the kegs.
Is there a reason why the draft is refrigerated but the bottle is not?
So you can refrigerate the bottle, but it's just more like the bottle is almost enjoyed like sort of a camera style ale from the UK, like a classic ale. So people just enjoy the flavor profile and the complexity of Guinness Extra Stout served at cellar temperature.
I actually prefer even this at 45 to 55 degrees.
Right.
Because I feel like the tongue feel and the mouth feel it's more palatable.
It does open it up more, yes. But the problem is, if you have a draft system that is set to more than like 42 degrees Fahrenheit, what you're going to have is foaming issues on all of your beer. So okay. if you see a picture of a pint of Guinness and someone goes, "Oh, that's a terrible looking pint," they might have like a really thick head on it, gotcha. And that's a temperature issue. So the beer travels from the keg to the tap. There's a mixture of gas and beer in the beer line, and it's mixed in together. But the problem is when you add temperature, when you add heat to that, it draws gas out of that mix. And when you draw gas out of the mix, what you're going to get is more head. And so the head gets thicker and thicker and thicker. So if you see a bar and they're pouring pints of any beer and it's really foamy, that's probably 90% there's 90% chance that that's going to be a temperature issue in that draft system that they have.
Because Guinness has a really nice nutty, kind of earthy, probably from the barley. I'd imagine the toasted barley. It seems like having something that's super cold is going to erode your ability to enjoy that flavor.
Yeah, I mean, you get those roasted barley flavors coming out in it. We roast our barley at the brewery. We're one of the only breweries in the world that roast barley to the extent that we roast it, and to the volume that we roast it. We roast about 17 tons of barley a day.
Oh my goodness!
At the Guinness brewery, we have this big cylindrical roasting house where it goes up through this steam-powered conveyor belt, and we roast it. It's very, very similar to coffee roasting, so that's why you're getting those like roasty coffee flavors. It's from the Maillard reaction. If you roast almost anything, you get similar flavors, and that's from like the amino acids breaking down. But we roast ours at 232 degrees Celsius. I'm from Ireland. Forgive me, I don't know the Fahrenheit conversion, but we roast it at 232, which is the same as what you would roast coffee beans to get Vienna roast.
Well, it tastes great either way. And speaking of flavor, before we started the show, we were talking about the fact that that corned beef and cabbage isn't really a thing over in Ireland, which, frankly, it shocked me because I feel like that's something that I've always been raised with. And you go to the Irish pub for corned beef and cabbage on St. Patrick's Day, but that's an American thing then.
So corned beef and cabbage would be the quintessential Irish American dish. So in Ireland, we enjoy bacon and cabbage, and we would have this big piece of cured bacon. There's a big fat cap on the back of it, and what we'll do is we'll boil that bacon for like 2 hours or 3 hours. You take it out of the water, and you'll put it in the oven to finish off, to kind of crisp it a little bit. But you will keep that bacon water, and you'll cook your cabbage and your potatoes and your carrots in that. And that is a little piece of heaven, Jeff.
That sounds amazing.
Wow.
Is there anybody in San Diego that you know that does it that way? I've never seen it that way.
No, it's difficult to find. There's some people there's some bars. I know there was a bar in San Francisco used to do it as a special every like Wednesday. But the thing is, it's very hard to find that piece of cured bacon here in the United States. And they had a chef that would cure the bacon for them in-house. And basically, they would sell out in like an hour and a half. You would do just enough bacon for that day. But the thing is, when the Irish immigrated to the United States, what happened was they were looking for the bacon, especially on the East Coast, and in New York is where it came from, where they couldn't find that particular cut of bacon. They couldn't find that cure of bacon. But what they did find through like the Jewish delis is they found corned beef. And corned beef had a similar texture, similar flavors. It was cured. It was boiled for a while, then finished in the oven. It came out stringy. And it was similar enough to the bacon that they would have in Ireland. And so that just gained strength here in the United States, and till it became, the quintessential Irish American dish.
The bacon, is that just for St. Patrick's Day, or is that something you can get any time of the year?
Oh, in Ireland, that's a staple.
Okay.
Like people are like, oh, people eat corned beef and cabbage all the time in Ireland. It's like we eat bacon and cabbage all the time. I know growing up, that was a once a week dish.
Well, I think we need to make a road trip. Well, actually, it wouldn't be a road trip. It'd be more like a
hell of a drive.
We could find a road. Sure.
Well, I'm going to attempt to pour this.
I'm
going to go full screen for Kevin.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Go ahead.
All right. So let it foam up a second. Right.
What? Patience. That's what it requires.
Patience. Doing just like he said.
You're good. You're good to go now.
All right, I'm going to try the port in the glass upside down, like I've seen bartenders do it. I will try and do unlike Tom and not hit the glass. So just dump it in.
Yeah. Bring the can a little bit lower.
Okay.
So there's aggression there. I mean, you're pouring into it. It's
okay. And that is the head that I was missing before and pouring it sideways like I would. Look at that. That looks great. All right. I'll drink to that.
Well done. Nice pour there. I'm going to have to grab another one myself here in a moment.
You're going to have to go to your backup car there, Tom.
Yeah, that's what we have to do. Now, with regard to the other expressions, I was seeing recently one that is infused with coffee. How do you like that one? I haven't tried it yet. And I mean, what would be your other favorite expression besides the original?
So our Guinness Nitro Coffee, we just released it here.
Yeah.
It is a coffee flavored nitro stout. So basically, think of the Guinness draft that you're drinking now with a shot of espresso in it. It is there's a lot of coffee-ish beers on the market at the moment, and they're more they're sugar forward. They're more sweet, like if you were drinking Frappuccino or something like that.
Right.
This is coffee and stout all together, and it's something we're really, really happy with. We worked for quite a while on it. We thought it was going to be out a little bit sooner in the US and certainly on the West Coast here, but the beer arrived in New Jersey just as that nor'eastern hit, and it got snowed in at the port. And then to get to the West Coast, we stick it on a train and it goes down to Houston to our big warehouse down there. And Houston got hit with the huge storm in the last couple of weeks. So we were hoping it was going to be out here about 2 weeks ago, but unfortunately, inclement conditions have stopped it getting here.
Right. I definitely want to try it. I saw it the other day in the liquor store, and I've had your original, I've had the foreign, I've had some of the other expressions. But I mean, obviously, I'm sure you love all of them. But do you have besides the original a go-to, or did you have a? So
I mean, like, Foreign Extra Stout is the connoisseur's choice. That's what we all know and we all love.
Right.
But reaching back up here, this year we brought out 2 new ones from our brewery in Baltimore. Limited edition, our Imperial Barley Stout, and then our Imperial Gingerbread Stout. These 2 phenomenal drinks. Aged in bourbon barrels for 8 months. Both are north of 10% ABV. Obviously, not to be tangled with over a long period of time. They're a great one if you go skiing and you get off the slopes and you want to have a nice beer to warm yourself up. That these are phenomenal. So we aged them in. We've been using American bourbon barrels for those. Those are amazing beers. And then I'm very fortunate that I'm on the mailing list for our new releases that come out from the brewery in Baltimore.
Yeah.
It's the home of innovation for us in the United States. So we have like a Galaxy IPA came out of there, just an outrageous beer. We've got a Salt Lime Lager that came out. That's going to be an absolute beast for when the mercury starts to rise in the thermometer. But yeah, some incredible beers. But where I can find it, Foreign Extra Stout. Obviously, I'm lucky enough to have this tap at home in my garage. That I can pour Guinness Draft Stout. But if I'm looking for a patio sipper, I gotta say Guinness Extra Stout. Let it off the shelf, a little bit more complexity to it. This is also the beer I would use if I'm going to cook with Guinness. So if you see any of those recipes that say add Guinness to this recipe, don't use Guinness Draft Stout. Just drink it, enjoy that. Use the Guinness Extra Stout. The carbonation opens it up a little bit more and makes for a very, very enjoyable experience.
Oh, I've loved having you on. I did this, and before this, I was like, we'll just go maybe half an hour or 25 minutes, depending on how long the conversation goes. But this has been awesome. But my glass is empty, so I don't want to offend the brewing gods. I have cans downstairs, but I don't want to offend the brewing gods by doing another toast with an empty glass.
Yeah.
So I would love to have you back, and maybe we can explore some of the other beers, and then when all this mess is behind us, I would love to get these guys together and meet up with you in Baltimore. Maybe we can have some some Guinness, some oysters, some great. They have great burgers
crab
in Baltimore, and crab cakes.
Yes.
Gentlemen, all about it. Thank you so much for having us on. Remember, for those of us that have just joined, hashtag it toast to. Post whatever you're drinking. We want to give $1 to charity to help fight COVID, to help with COVID relief and fight food scarcity across the United States. We want to give up to $600,000 away this year. So hashtag it toast to, tag at Guinness US. Enjoy St. Patrick's Day. Please be responsible out there, and let's launch it to you all. Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Before you go, can you show us how to pour the Guinness with the logo on it?
Unfortunately, I just kicked the keg here.
Well, you've been drinking quite
How much have you been drinking?
but
I'm not supposed to be able to lift a keg like this.
Well, we'll save that for next time then.
We'll save it for next time. Let's not put it all on the floor here, guys.
Exactly. Keep the people wanting more, because I want to know more.
Well, I'm going to hit the end broadcast button, but Owen, if you want to stay on, we can talk after the show. Have a great day, guys.
Okay. Cheers.
Thanks, lads.
Cheers.